Hi, it's Susan from Worldpeacefull. We're coming to the end of 2018 as we cross over the threshold of 2019. Can you believe? How quick has this year gone? Very fast. And yet I feel like this last year has been, 10 years. I've learned a lot. My mind is always open to life as it reveals itself. I think a lot of people will be focusing on the year that's passed and the year to come. I certainly know from the conversations I've had in the community that people are very concerned about leadership in our world. People are very concerned about the corruption that they're hearing about, the declining values and ethics that were once the mainstay, certainly of our society. I was brought up to speak the truth and, live a good life, be kind to others. Advance Australia Fair was not just a national anthem. That fairness was very much embodied in how we see each other. And of course, from a peace perspective, fairness is absolutely critical if you want a world that's peaceful. The constant grievances and clashes up of tensions, the class struggles, the various battles between the left wing and the right wing, and the implications of these conflicts without resolution serve to create more unease. It creates more fear in the society, more instability. As people can feel changes in the air. How will they sum up 2018? Well, people were concerned definitely about the war in Syria, that this is still going. It really brings into question any sort of commitment. Although in the last few days there's been news that the US is withdrawing its troops from Syria and Afghanistan, I was told today. That is a good development, because the reality on the ground is that the majority of fatalities are civilians. These are not wars of defence. What we're seeing is people fighting from a commercial basis. That's a whole different reality. But the real issues relate to the civilians who have no power to change what's going on around them and feel themselves under siege. We've seen climate change continuing with wildfires in various parts of the world that have never been seen with the intensity that they've burned. We've seen flooding. We've seen the unseasonality occurring in different countries. There is great change happening in the ecosystem as temperatures oscillate unseasonally, almost like a fever, if we were to view the planet as an organism, which it is in actual fact. These things are all occurring around us for us to question who we are, what sort of world we want in the future. Now, some may sit back and go, there's nothing I can do, I'm powerless. Through my poetry, perhaps through my website, I put to you that you're not. Why do these things all happen? Perhaps we're here to ask more questions. Perhaps we're here to learn about this world we're in rather than step back from the world and pretend it doesn't exist. These things do tend to beat a track to your door. It is not to run away from the world, but to face it as it is, preferably without a story, or at least questioning the story presented. There is much good in the world. The things that are not reported in the media is the kindnesses that people do for one another, is the smile that a person gives you as you walk past them on the street. It's the hug of seeing an old friend. It's the friendliness of having a chat about life and learning about another's life. It's the innocence in a child's eyes. It's listening to the song of a child. The rain pattering outside. The birds chattering away. And enjoying the wildlife if you get the chance to see it. We live in the most beautiful world. If we were to jump on a ship and look out at the planet from space, which we've seen in shots taken from various space vehicles, Apollo space shuttles, looking at the Earth, and how incredibly beautiful this planet is that we did not create. There is much magic in this world that we don't know, but we experience this wonder of life when we open our hearts to a better world. For me, I'm not cynical. I have an endless ability to see the good no matter what. And I've been through a lot of challenges. But I'm a truth seeker. I'm interested in the truth of matters. I'm not interested in winning over people because that's a power statement. I'm not interested. What I'm interested in is empowerment, which is to know thyself and be true. So in celebration of that, I wrote a poem today, which I'm going to share with you, and it's called, What is the Socratic Question for Humanity? Now, for those who don't know, Socrates is a Greek philosopher. He was the one that created Socratic dialogue, which is to ask questions. It's to communicate. But the questions is what opens up the answers. And until you embrace those questions, you're never going to find the answers. So this is what is the Socratic question for humanity. Do you want peace or security? Do we teach fear or love? For one fears threats, the other questions fear to discover there is no threat, only fear. What if fear is false evidence appearing real? What if what you focus on expands? What if what you look at appears? It is the truth that sets us free to be happy. Casting an intranet around the world, are we spinning webs of subterfuge as deception, rather than discovering the web of life as the miracle? Do we want surveillance to gather data or self-understanding to know thyself in truth? Do we profile avatars or dialogue to understand what we cannot see? For underlying causality mainlines control, plants greed as need, and fear as persecution. Is narcissism a mental health detachment complex cause, or a crime scene outcome? Can we change the behaviour of others, or is it to be our own behaviour that must change in order to see change in chaos? For when you change, the world changes. Can we resolve control with control? Can we stop terror with terror? Can we fight fire with fire? Can we prevent crime by preemptive strategies? Do we assume worst case scenarios of win-lose, or the best possible outcomes, win-win? What are the drivers of fear? What are the drivers of peace? What is real security? What is underlying insecurity? What of terror-ism? Is it the orchestration of terror? Is it a swan song as a final call to arms? Or is it a theatre of shadow puppets? Who pulls the strings in this show and tell? Cyber ecosystems are scripted and codified. What you see is not real. Advertising pop-ups sell so and politicians. Algorithms track, gather, profile, normalise. To be seen to be popular, trending. Dramatising events as attention-seeking. The public interest counts as likes, not votes. Yet what are the real outcomes? What are the underlying incomes? Follow the money. Leads us back to first principles, asking, what is principled leadership? Problem solving drills down to find the good oil is creating climates of change. Energy prices cannot be guaranteed as liquid gold is the gold standard of petrodollars. Do we choose the gold bar or the earth? What of Tesla, free energy? What of renewables off-grid? What of decentralisation of cities? Is this smart or intelligent design? If the old paradigm is the role play of control, can full spectrum dominance work? Why not work on full spectrum allowance? For what you resist persists, and what you look at disappears. Does this mean out of control? Or into the flow of a renewable life? As nature rebalances life as homeostasis, values navigate uncertainty as higher choices. Intelligence scans for unity connectors, preempting that good seeds follow bad. Creativity creates new neural pathways, advancing new frontiers never seen. It is time to question business as usual. Infinite growth modelling juggernauts, finite Earth systems, collapsing drift nets. Ice cap melts to stop the Gulf streaming. Wildfires clear out dead woods, for many cannot see the trees for the wood. Floods smashing dams and blockages. Solar flares knock out 5G cyber delusions. Humanity seeks refuge with nothing to do, as busyness is not a culture of peace. Updates are not catching up with real friends. Colleagues are not a community of commons. Antidepressants suppress emotions to control stress rather than face it. Violence seeks force over powerlessness to restore order rather than conflict resolution. For we have not looked into the source of our own troubled waters. We have not faced what we fear with love. We avoided responsibility using distractions. Our addictions feel good when all is not good on the Western Front. Capitalism doesn't work when unemployed. Militarism is corporate welfare losing the war. Welfare is corporate profiting over people, contracting economies indifferent to suffering. The homeless cast adrift as worthless. No one cares for their plight as users pay. Losers are paid less, and those with nowhere to go, live in tent cities as makeshift camps. For not everyone can fly to the moon to set up makeshift corporate base camps. Is this intelligent or smart? Real hopes in the future is remembering. Responsibility is the ability to respond. It is in your hands, you can do something. Empathy is to stand in the shoes of humanity, feel their feelings, and empower the path. Awareness is to open your eyes and notice what is and change what doesn't work. Love shares, cares, reveals, heals, and stays. Honesty is the jester speaking truth to power, getting the joke as a koan of great wisdom. Oneness is the one family, one breath, one earth, reuniting to know what you do to another returns to the self. Peace is yin and yang, rebalancing opposites, healing divisions, as the peace that passeth all understanding is when stillness speaks. Enjoyment is the inner joy to know thyself. Playing life as the fool's gold is real wealth. Service is to remember to preserve humanity as yourself, to live, to give, to surrender to the life pattern and allow life to move you fearlessly. To be or not to be is the real question. So that I felt inspired to write today. I might just go still for a moment because stillness speaks. And when I say that, I'm not saying this, I'm hearing voices, I'm not. What it is, let me try and describe to you what stillness is like. So I'll just go still in order to reconnect to it. It comes through feeling, actually. And then the words come to me to translate the feeling. That's how it works for me. So let me just go still, and if I have any insights about stillness, I'll convey it. The breath is the rhythm of life. You did not create it, it created you. Breath is what is sustainability. We breathe in, we breathe out, we breathe in our whole life. Imagine how many heartbeats have happened to ensure that you are alive. Our natural state is thoughtless. There's no thought when you're totally in the human condition as a natural state. When we get educated, whether it be by our families, our society, our institutions, more words come into our minds and they become what shapes what we see. What if you were not educated? What if you were living in the Amazon rainforest as the last tribe? What if you'd never made contact with another human being outside of your own tribe? Suddenly you hear the birds. Every crackle of every leaf is a sign, is a message. You know the voices of all the birds. You know when they're warnings. You know when they're happy. You know what time of day it is because the forest is speaking. Your senses are absolutely heightened. You are alert in every second. You are not distracted. You are not detached. You are part of a group that's very loving. Your group is like one body. They're not just people you go visit. These people you've known your entire life. These people know you completely. And they regard you as part of the one body of the tribe. The air is really fresh, beautiful. It's like an orchestra in the forest. There's so much life. It's buzzing with life. It's like when you go out and you're with a whole heap of people and there's music playing. It's alive. That's how you feel in the forest. You adapt. Your universe is the environment you're in. Your mind is not reaching for other things. It doesn't feel less as it's one with the forest as well. There's no need to buy anything to complete oneself or to feel joy. You're already in a state of peace and wonder. You tell stories about the experiences that you have and the hunting parties. You notice every single detail of the forest. You know it. It's carried through folklore, through songs. It's celebrated because it supports you. There's no money in this world. Yes, there are fears of hunger at times, where your stomach is aching with hunger. You never take more than you need. Life never gives you more than you need. You see life live and die. You see that as natural. People die, people are born. It's the same thing. Coming in, coming out, breathing in, breathing out. You're not imagining threats or fears because no one's putting those thoughts in your mind. Your only thought is survival, to feed the group. And so you become very tuned into conditions. You hear the forest breathing. Knowledge has been passed on from generation to generation. It's cumulative wisdom. It's oratory. It's coming through spoken word. There is no writing. And you remember the stories because you're a child hearing them. And you never forget because you're most receptive when you're growing. These stories become wired in, goes into the genetics and it passes on genetically. Just as the forest lives and dies and genetically responds to changing conditions. The genetics will favour certain conditions. There are dormant genes. Some may become active when conditions change. And species may survive on the basis of favouring those genetic predispositions. Others will fade away as they cannot adapt. So as you emerge from the forest and you see humanity for the first time, maybe it's in the shape of a white person, maybe it's in the shape of a Brazilian, maybe they're a Peruvian, maybe they're a drug lord that have been in the forest. Maybe you encounter their violence and you get shocked. You don't understand their language at all. You look and you see, and there is no story because no one's told you any stories. There's no projection. There is what is in front of you. Maybe that one in front of you gestures in a friendly way to make you feel welcome. Maybe they smile. Maybe they think you're primitive. Maybe you think they're primitive. There you are. You've come from the womb of a forest of which your entire being is completely adapted, and found yourself standing on land that's not of the forest. It's like an alien culture. It's like you've stepped into another planet, and it seems very strange. They're wearing clothes and things on their feet, whereas you're naked before truth. You feel no shame about your body. They cover everything. There's a lot of fear in them. How do you tell them about the web of life? How do you tell them about what you know? How you survive without money, without gadgets, without iPods, without iPhones, without alcohol or drugs? How do you explain to them that you're happy in simplicity, having nothing? Yet the world is everything. You're surrounded by abundance. You see it everywhere. You feel secure because you know your environment. You're not cut off from it. How do you reach out to those people who have no real hope? Yet, that reaching out is very important to connect to that part of ourselves that is lost, that has lost its way, that no longer knows its heart, that doesn't know the security of community, that doesn't know that nature actually supports its life, that it's not a resource. That is not about status being bigger or better than anyone. It's understanding you're all equal. We're all naked here. We all have children or grandchildren or relatives. That the clothes don't maketh the man. His character, his integrity, his honesty, his beauty is evident. It is self-evident. For the hardships that humanity is encountering are teachers on this path as we awaken to our own confusion. This is why the world is not at peace. Fear has been running the show for a long, long, long time. So even those alive today, they have also been programmed by those that came before, who were equally confused. Confusion has within it an innocence. You don't know you're confused, you think you know. What is the wisdom around that? I know I don't know is the awakening to wisdom. I know that I know is the closed mind that's ignorant. We educate to know so that we know more. This then opens doors. We're then seen in a certain way, a certain role, but it's not who we are. When you don't know that you don't know, you continue making the same mistakes over and over. A little bit like, the bull in the china shop, or a little bit like the pink elephant or the elephant, where everybody's wearing blindfolds. They only see a certain aspect, but not the whole picture. In order to see the big picture, as you are the artist, you have to be able to step back and really take in the picture, the colours, the contours, the shapes. And then you wait to see what this is meaning for you. We are the ones that ascribe meaning to everything. I know that I don't know is the beginning of creating a climate of real change. One opens one mind to the possibilities that are presented. When we believe we know it all, we will not open our minds and acknowledge that we created it. It's definitely not an act of God. For that energy is exactly the same as the ecosystem energy that you see connecting all living things. From a human perspective, we feel it as love. Love does not control. Love lets go. Love allows you to find your way. Love is not motherhood statement, although whenever I say the word motherhood, I feel a reverence to every mother. Of course, I have a great love of men. The men have been taken down a pathway where they've disconnected from the feeling state, believing that it weakens them. It's actually their greatest strength. Feeling is like sensing the whole picture. It's allowing those very important faculties of intuition to be utilised when one is assessing what is going on. If you cut that out of your life, it numbs you. This is why we reach for drugs and alcohol, to soothe on the one hand stress, and on the other hand to not express what we're truly feeling, although it may well come out with alcohol, but often it can be conveyed aggressively because of the tension that's been suppressed. Expression is extremely important for world peace, but done in a way that's non-violent but honest. Can you sit with that person who is your critic and allow them to express without interruption? Can you do that with a sense of respect that they have a right to believe what they believe? Can you do that without the desire to change their mind in argument? What if their expression is perfect for them? It may not be your expression, but what if that's just simply them showing you a picture of their life? It's not possible for the picture of their life to be the picture of your life. However, if in that expression they're saying, your actions have created this and it's impacted me, then you may wish to consider non-violent pathways to resolve that, because we live in community whether you see it or not. Community means common unity. It means we look for the commons. We look for how to unify that, because we are not separate islands of automation. We are deeply interconnected, all of us. Carl Jung talked about the collective consciousness, the unconscious. The more we suppress, the more things get pushed into the subconscious. When they come out, they can come out suddenly, spontaneously, and it can become aggressive. And there can be a loss of control through that. We have not learned how to deal with our emotional states because we deny them, fearing them. And yet, this is what nature has designed intelligently in order for us to feel the world we're in. These are the colours in the palette. You are the one that holds the brush. You are the one that paints the picture of what you see. Everybody sees a different picture, although through media, that picture can be, in a sense, imposed through a collective agreement that this is truth when it's another person's creation. You have to return back to first principles and decide about, firstly, your own world. What has actually happened in your world? Does the outside world bear any real meaning to you? Or is that just like watching a movie? Look out at the world through your own experience and speak from your own experience. I live in a world of great peace. I'm constantly exploring. I am constantly working on ways to serve humanity, because it serves me to serve humanity in that this is what I love. I love people. That's why I've worked for free for 18 years. That's why I'm on no money right now. I have such a love of truth. I have such a deep love of humanity. I'm, in a sense, on the sidelines saying to humanity, you can do it. You can create a better world. You have it within you, the capacity to do great things, each and every one of you. My work is real hope, or real hopes. I use the S on the end. When I was teaching in schools, real hope was responsibility, empathy, awareness, love, honesty, oneness, peace, enjoyment. This is the model. Real is authenticity. Hope is a hope for possibilities in the future that are positive. The S is service. I'm in service, so real hopes is the model for humanity. Real hope is the work I can teach in schools so that children integrate values which are intrinsic to them universally. So it's what every child in the world has by nature inside them. They get to integrate this through activities, experience. You can't just learn theoretically. One has to experience life in order to know it. This is why, as I described with the Amazonian, Indian, for example, they are having a life experience in the forest. This is not a theoretical learning. They communicate stories based on their experience. Experience is why we're here. We're not here to be hiding from the world. We're here to be shining in the world, because everyone is a light. It's a little bit like when we're at carols by candlelight and everyone is got their phone up now. They don't have lighters anymore. Phones, they're all reflecting light. I remember Freddie Mercury, sorry, from Queen. He had the whole audience singing with him. E-O. It was amazing to watch them all singing the same song. This is when we come onto the same page positively and work together without discrimination and see that life is offering you opportunity in every moment. There is much to celebrate in life. Turn off the television. Get rid of the smartphone. Go and move into the country. Free yourself from your worries. And we look forward to hearing and seeing what you have to contribute to this beautiful world at this really important time. Don't be despondent. Just notice what's happening, but contribute your talent and skill. Because that's what is going to make the world a much greater place. You cannot spin and get nowhere. Every single thing makes a difference in this world. There is not one person who does not. So with that, I send you joy, peace, and goodwill to all humanity. And be the change you wish to see right now and every day into the future, and watch the world change very fast. I'm sending love. Love you. Bye-bye.